Morning, this is Wayne Bilal with another Smart Profit Maximizer moment. I'm going to talk about EIDL loans, SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loans, EIDL. Been around for a long time. Usually used it needs to be in a federally declared disaster zone, so it's usually tornadoes, hurricanes, things like that. President Trump declared the whole United States a disaster loan. So these things can come into play. An economic injury disaster loan has, people heard about it, didn't really understand it. Like, hey, go to this website and you can get $10,000. I actually did a video on that. So many people went that they actually changed it. If you didn't see your 10,000, there's a reason. All right. First of all, they're behind. They're buried and they're doing all these PPP loans, which are designed to keep people on the job. Okay. So that's been their priority. If you're getting some money from the EIDL, it might be much less than $10,000 because very shortly after, probably a week or 10 days after, the SBA put out a memo saying due to the tremendous demand, they were going to have to lower the amount from $10,000 per business that applied as an advance on an EIDL loan. And the advance was not, even if you got turned down for a loan, or didn't apply for a loan, it was supposed to be forgiven. So many people went after this that they actually reduced it to $1,000 per employee. So the only way to get the $10,000 advance was to have 10 employees. And I still have seen the money very slow to go through. I know almost nobody. I think I've heard one or two that have actually received it, okay? But that doesn't mean it isn't coming. And it's just a matter of the SBA, truthfully, let's be honest here. SBA has been buried with so many PPP loans that they just are having trouble. I mean, they did more loans in a 10-day period, almost 2-week period, let's say, in the first tranche than they had done in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something ridiculous like that. So, you know, the EIDL loans, they're coming, all right? So what is the difference between an EIDL loan, an economic injury disaster loan, and a PPP loan? Well, the PPP loan, the Payroll Protection Program, is a new one. It's most of us know about it. We've heard about it. It's basically, you know, you turn in your application. I've covered this before, so I'm not going to cover it again. Go back and look at some of my videos. But it's based on your payroll for 2019 times, you know, divided by 12 times 2.5. And you understand you got 8 weeks to use it on payroll, rent, utilities, and 75% has to be on payroll. Okay, an EIDL loan is a real loan. It's a real SBA loan. Let's talk about it. First of all, you got to have less than 500 employees. There's very few exceptions to that. Not going to worry about it. It does matter what you do for a living, okay? If 1/3 or more of your revenue is an illegal activity, well, if it's in any illegal activities, lobbying, significant gambling, again, more than 1/3 of your revenue, or if you engage in live performance of a sexual nature deriving directly or indirectly more than a de minimis of gross revenue from the sale of products or services. So if you're in the sex trades, you're probably not going to get it. And so neither here nor there. Nonprofits can apply, yes. If you work for yourself, you're a sole proprietor, you can apply. It existed before, but like I said, on March 13th, President Trump made an emergency declaration under the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Loan. In other words, the whole country is a disaster loan. So this is something that may work for you. How much can you get? Well, you can get up to $2 million, all right? The loans are going to be based on your actual injury. So you're going to have to show that you had a decline in revenue or that you were shut or something like that, all right? So there's going to be an application process. You're going to have financial statements, tax returns. You're going to have current financial statements for this year. So this is another place where you need to have good records, okay? You know, the loan advance will be forgiven. Yeah, never mind, hold on. Here we go. So what can I use the money for? Well, you can pretty much use it for almost anything you want. You can't double dip. So if you take the PPP program, you can get it for other stuff or for payroll that's not in that 8-week period, all right? Kind of think of the EIDL loan was set up to give you 6 months of operating capital, basically. you were injured, your place got wiped out by a tornado or a hurricane, or in this case got closed down by COVID-19 in a government order, or your income got greatly reduced. So the idea was to give you 6 months of working capital to cover you so you can get back on your feet, okay? You can do the PPP loan and this. You just can't double dip. So if you get a loan for payroll, you can't get loan for payroll again, except for, I'm not sure about this, I have to check. But I think you can get, like, if you're doing the next 6 months, you can get loan. The PPP covers the first 8 weeks. Maybe you can put the last 4 months in. That's something the only way to find out is to put it in there. I would. If I whenever I start doing these, I'm going to try to get a hold of the SBA or a banker that I know that does a lot of these. Does a lot of work with the SBA, and pick their brain, and I'll find out better on that. If I'm wrong, I'll try to remember to come back. Again, you're going to want help on this, okay? If your credit is already maxed out, does this stop you? No, but it is credit based, so you do have to have a decent amount of credit. The SBA for an economic injury disaster loan has no fees, okay? So unlike normal SBA loans that are pretty heavy on fees, these don't. But it's going to be hard for you to do this without a CPA or a tax professional, and they're going to charge you something for this. Collateral, if you go for $25,000 or less, there's no collateral. And if it's $200,000 or less, there's no personal guarantee required. I told you about the records. You're going to need just about everything you would for a normal loan. Last 3 years financial statements, last 3 years tax returns. Probably going to need a current, the first 90 days of this year, depending on when you do it. If it's after June 30th, you're probably going to need a financial statement for that. You're going to need it anyways, because you're going to have to show that there was a real economic loss. The interest rate, my understanding is going to be a 30-year loan with a interest rate of 3.75% for small businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. I'm thinking 30 is what I read, but it might be 20. Either way, it's a heck of a deal. You can apply anytime up to December 31st. You can pretty much do an EIDL anyways. But if you did one between January 31st and April 3rd, you can still apply for a PPP loan so long as you use them for different expenses. You can also refinance an EIDL loan into a PPP loan, but note that if you do get a PPP loan, the $10,000 grant will be subtracted. So if you get any kind of grant, it'll be subtracted. There's no forgiveness. It's a real loan. Like I said, an EIDL is intended for 6 months of operating expenses. If you're interested, go to the SBA site. Look up sba.gov, or I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Make sure you're going to a real SBA site, not a loan. There's a lot of, type in SBA, you get a lot of sites that say, hey, we'll help you do this. Some of them do fine. I used to send people that wanted these kind of loans or had this every city seems to have these that'll help you put projections together and all that. But based on this, man, they're going to be overwhelmed. Definitely, if this is something you're looking at, call your CPA, call your tax provider, your accountant, and get some help. Hey, until next time, this is Wayne Bilal saying, let's make this our most profitable year ever. Thank you very much.